Hey, everybody. So, my guest today is Troy. He is the co founder of Seller.tools, a full suite of tools leveraging Amazon data to take your business to new heights. And in this episode, we'll learn why speed and execution are important and how Seller.tools scale to $12,000 MRR. So, Troy, are you ready to take us to the top?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
All right. So, first off, can you tell us a bit more about Seller.tools? How would you describe it?
Yeah, so as a platform, Seller.tools is really geared toward the audience that we serve is Amazon FBA sellers and brands. And so the suite of tools that we offer really focus on all the areas of highest impact for those that sell on Amazon. So these are things like keyword research, listing optimization, paid advertising, different external traffic strategies and tools that we offer there as well. But as sellers ourselves, we really wanted to solve some of the problems and challenges of seeing what was available in the landscape, understanding it. It allows you to kind of play in the sandbox and sell on Amazon, but not be optimal and exceptional in many ways. So that's really where our suite of tools now is evolving over time and focusing on how do we reliably rank on Amazon? How do we reliably capture reviews? And then we add a little twist in there where we'll automate a lot of those activities. So automating the highest value activities on Amazon is kind of the core focus. And then we just have tools that do a reliable and great job of doing that.
Sounds like a great asset if you're selling on
Yeah,
Amazon.
absolutely.
So, what's the exact business model here? How are you making money?
Yeah, so we have a core platform, an app that users can access. It's a software as a service. Within that, there is the ability to do some of those core functions, the keyword research, building your own Amazon listing right within the platform, saving it, making sure it is truly optimized. Different promotional strategies. So if you're giving out, let's say, coupons, single-use coupons to your customers, we can facilitate that through our app. So that's really probably the core focus for many of our users. We also have a Chrome extension, which has some free features in it as well, that will help with things like requesting reviews from customers in a bulk fashion. We also have an automated feature, but that allows users to kind of do it outside of our SaaS ecosystem, right there natively in some of the Amazon tools, Seller Central notably, where it just makes it that much easier to complete what other sellers who may not have access to this will do very manually, very human error, human delays, very time consuming to be able to complete. And so those two really play nicely between our app and our Chrome extension as well. And then as you get into more advanced features with the app and the software as a service, we have our own digital wallet, which you can use for rebate and loyalty campaigns. We are deeply integrated with ManyChat as a chat marketing platform. We were actually their top developer, and that's one of our standout integrations and a major focal point for sellers that are looking for what are those more advanced strategies, kind of where the best are spending a lot of their time, owning more of the customer experience, and where our integrations really shine.
Wow, great. Smart to leverage the freemium model that way. So, on a more personal note, I'm curious, how did you start the business? Take us back from idea to launch.
Yeah, so Seller.tools really was started by a group of sellers. My business partner and one of the other co-founders, Brennan Morris, started really building out tools that he wanted for himself in his own business, where he was seeing some lack out in the space and what was available to him. And really, the beginnings of the platform weren't really meant for the larger community. But he was starting to solve his own problems with an eye for automation, really lean teams that he was operating with even to this day, a handful of people running 7 and 8 figure businesses. And so that thread of automation has really been a mainstay. But when we started and when Brendan started the platform, it was really on data, Amazon data, in which we had things like search volume, which informed us, okay, where should we be spending our time in terms of different keywords. And so it was helping to really identify those opportunities. And fortunately enough, I had a chance to sync up with Brendan along with our other co-founder. There's three of us total. at an event. And we really formalized the idea of, hey, let's make what was the seed of the idea and what Brennan was developing brought more broadly available to the community, pretty it up a little bit, add more of a UX UI where much more customer friendly. And that was really the beginnings of Seller.tools more in the shape and form that you would see it now. But we've always loved that idea of we were sellers ourselves. Again, same with the other co-founder, all three of us running seven figure plus businesses, and really kind of scratching our niche, like knowing what we struggle with, what we want to solve in our own businesses. And that's been a really solid mainstay.
Interesting. So building it based on your own needs, like indeed scratching your own itch, how did you get the first users to the tool for selling on Amazon?
We were very fortunate. Our network, and that's really how we connected as co-founders, is through our network at a Amazon event of sorts. And so there was a lot of organic interest in new users, especially at the inception. And some of the draw was us as a team, of knowing that we did really know our stuff, and we were developing tools based on based on some of our know-how and expertise. But then just by virtue of our network, which is very fortunate, that's like the strongest type of marketing, is the word of mouth, that high level of interest. And it's been great to have that as the foundation. Really, is having the community really acknowledge and validate through their interest and use of the platform. And that really, it's bittersweet, because it sort of also makes a bit of a gray area in terms of a predictable marketing plan, as we've seen today, where we have different levers that we pull to garner new users. But our foundation has been so strong of word of mouth, of a lot of high interest from the community as a whole, just by virtue of a bit of our reputation, and knowing that we're, and we know users will weigh that against some of the competitive landscape and sort of say, hey, who's behind this? What are they working on? Are they innovating? And that's allowed us to really keep things organic for the most part, in terms of new user growth and lead gen.
And when did you find out that the product was valid? Was there a sort of aha moment for your early users?
There was, I think, with the release, and many Amazon sellers would, when we talk about search volume and the accuracy, so that will bring many back, because there was a bit of a heyday of these tools that were, and ours most notably when we released, that was such a massive focal point, because keywords are so crucial to success on Amazon. It's kind of like the real estate making up Amazon. That search volume informed, okay, which keywords are most important? Which ones should I prioritize? And with that being sort of our initial splash into the space, how well received that was a really great indication of, okay, let's continue to build this out. Let's look at how, different ways that we can present this data, different ways that we can reliably update it on a daily basis, so it feels more real time. So some of the initial offerings were definitely validated almost at the inception, from day one.
Great that you could validate it this way. So, being the co-founder of Seller.tools, what is your most valuable lesson up to this point?
This is a great question, and I would say there's no shortage, and there's definitely the quantity of failures and missteps. Running what is my first SaaS, which is very nuanced, because we have these layers of Amazon FBA. We've been through the now expedited evolution of e-commerce with COVID, and so it's really lent itself to a lot of learning opportunities, I would say, here in the near term. I think the execution on different MVPs, the speed with which implementing MVPs, that process has been very much refined through a lot of missteps and failures, because I think we all have this idea of what an MVP is, but really being able to develop a more predictable process behind that, and clearly defined feedback mechanisms, are really, really important. And that's still a challenge to this day. We have the benefit of aggregating hundreds of thousands of sellers in Facebook groups. And I know from other verticals, other SaaS, it's very hard to pool a lot of your potential or current customers together. We sort of have the opposite problem where there is an inundation of potential feedback. And so there has to be a refining of that. So I think even though that's not maybe that stark of a failure, it's more of a lessons learned through almost by a thousand cuts of like, okay, how can we take what is very unique and nuanced in our space and actually turn it into advantage versus a potential for lack.
Wow, that's great advice. Speed and execution.
Right.
At what stage is Seller.tools right now in terms of revenue or growth?
Yeah, we're at an interesting phase with our product lifecycle, and we are also with our roadmap. And some of the value add features that we offer have grown exceptionally well with this growth of e-commerce. So, as an example, I alluded to our digital wallet. We've processed over the past year, I think, over about $12 million in rebates and funds, and that's irrespective of our MRR. We've seen a little bit of impact when it comes to some of our more specific changes that we've seen, let's say, because some of our strategies deal with Facebook, deal with ManyChat. There was a lot of sensitivity starting last year with elections and how Facebook was responding and bot activity and pages coming down, which really hurt Amazon sellers and then subsequently us. So there's definitely some progress that we want to make there, but we want to continue to scale. Our goal is to consistently meet that $1 million a month in rebates processed through our app, leverage some of our free features, and yeah, so we're keeping a close eye on numbers and wanted to continue to grow.
Amazing numbers, great job. Well, Troy, thanks for sharing the story behind Seller.tools. Now, let's wrap it up with a lightning round of 6 questions to inspire others. Before we dive into today's lightning round, let me ask you something. Are you frustrated by what a hassle it is to track your visited data with Google Analytics? Luckily, there is a better way to analyze your website and get actionable insights. Oribi. Oribi is a unique marketing analytics tool that captures every single event visitors perform on your website, all without using code. You heard that right. You don't have to set up any code at all to start tracking your conversions. Oribi lets you analyze visitor behavior patterns, build smarter funnels, and get tons of insights so you always know what your next step is. Go to oribi.io/SaaS Pirates. That's oribi.io/SaaS Pirates and get 20% off any plan after your free trial. Now, let's go back to the interview. If you would start a SaaS or a tool today, what would be the first action to take?
I think it's with SaaS and tools. It's not very different from other approaching any other new business or venture. It's the people really matter, and so identifying what you are setting out to build and reverse engineering it is very important. So there's as much predictability as possible, but then identifying the who is equally as important. And speaking to, is that objective friendly to a generalist? Do I need a specialist? What kind of resources are available to me to structure that new venture for success? So I think in many ways it's simple but not easy. But beginning with the end in mind, and then the who is really, again, if I had to do it again today and take some of the lessons learned, I would make sure I was intentional about approaching it kind of in that way.
Absolutely love it. What are some of your favorite software that you can't leave without in running daily operations of Seller.tools?
Yeah, we're big fans, and we have pretty clear buckets of using some of the mainstays. We use Jira. Some of my favorite tools on sort of the non-dev side of things would be Asana. We leverage Notion. Notion is really great. It's one of those tools that I constantly feel like maybe I'm using it at about 20% of its potential. But it's powerful in that sense in terms of its integration, usefulness. It's a blank slate, so it can become your wiki, it can become your project task management tool, and then we use a lot of Google products too, which is really great for ease of sharing and access. and those types of things. But we really try to keep it uncomplicated at the same time. That's one thing we're sort of looking at now is constantly evaluating those buckets and making sure that the dev, non-dev side of the business, the interplay, maybe the intentional lack of interplay, but those are definitely some of the strong standout ones for us.
Love those tools. Big Asana fan here as well. What is your favorite app on your phone?
This is a good question. So I would have to say, and I'm immensely guilty of trying to stay on top of crypto and Bitcoin. So I have to be honest. My favorite right now is the Celsius app. I'm a big Celsius fan, so I'm keeping a constant and close eye on some investments I've made in crypto. But I honestly try to keep my phone pretty far away from me at the same time too.
And what is your favorite book that you would recommend to people that are starting in SaaS?
I think a really great book with a new perspective would have to be Rework. The guys behind it, Jason and David, and what they built at Basecamp and Hey, and all these really really great intuitive solutions, and they obviously have in many ways a kind of a radical philosophy. I think at the very least, understanding that perspective can be very eye-opening. Because they're very much bucking the trend. And reading a book like Rework, which is immensely simplistic, I think I have a handful of copies as well. I've shared it with a few people. I think that welcoming of a unique perspective in that way, it's not on the nose for SaaS. It's really like how you operate and what you bring to work and how you can just welcome a fresh lens. But I think it's a very shareable, very you come back to it type of book.
Yeah, I think Rework is probably the most named book on the show as well, and I really love the book as well. So great recommendation. Which SaaS brand do you admire the most?
To be honest with you, there's not one that really stands out. I would say the SaaS that we use. I'm a bit partial to, because obviously I'm voting with my dollars and my time, and so I look at things like Notion. I look at things like Gusto, which are very clean, very intuitive platforms, which I really appreciate. Because I always gauge this too when you bring on a new person, you onboard them, and you think about the tools that they will use, and those are like constant reminders of like what you're using, their relative usefulness. The ease with which they can be leveraged to their potential. So those are a few that kind of stand out for me as ones that, I could love a SaaS and then spend $0. These are ones I rely on every day, and I invest in through my work and time as well as my teams.
Makes sense. And what about your favorite SaaS person or entrepreneur to follow or read?
Yeah, I like a few of the bigger, more outspoken voices. I would say I'm a fan of Nathan Latka as well. I think he's in a similar vein to Jason and the guys at Basecamp. It's sort of a stark perspective, and so I always like to kind of see what he's working on, or when he's bringing folks on, and kind of adding the pressure in terms of getting to the numbers and performance and that type of thing. So I really also just try to stay, even if I sort of cherry pick who I follow and the information I follow on the SaaS side, our category is so dense in terms of the niche, that I really do try to spend more time on the customer voice. I think you can fall prey to industry specific insights and lose that attention that you could give to the voice of the customer, which I mentioned before. It can be really challenging, but it's it can be very resource intensive too, but it's so fruitful. It's so fruitful to spend that time.
Great. Well, Troy, thanks for your time today and sharing your story with us. To conclude this interview, where can we learn more about you and Seller.tools?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can find us at Seller.tools, which we offer a 14-day free trial to get access. You can use our free Chrome extension as well. And then don't hesitate to reach out to us if you have any questions, things that we can help you with at hello@Seller.tools.
Thanks for listening to this awesome episode of the SaaS Pirates podcast. You can find us on all of your favorite podcast apps as well as on YouTube, where you'll find these episodes recorded in video. Also, if you're into SaaS, come and join the SaaS Pirates Facebook group. We would love to have you on board. As always, if you enjoyed this episode, please give us a review. It'll help us reach more people like yourself. Without further ado, till next time, take care.